My dad kicked me out at 16 because I didn't look like him. He was sure I was not his son. I lived hard for years until he got sick and needed a donor. The DNA test revealed a shocking truth. I was his only biological child, and the perfect siblings he kept were the ones my mom had with another man. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button so you won't miss more interesting stories. My name is Caleb, and if you saw me on the street, you wouldn't think I came from money. I wear work boots, my hands are calloused, and I have a scar running down my left cheek from a fight I got into when I was living under a bridge. But I did come from money. A lot of it. I grew up in a mansion with a pool, a tennis court, and a father who hated my guts from the moment I was born. My father, Richard, was a narcissist. He was a wealthy investment banker who cared about two things: his image and his legacy. He was tall, blonde, and blue-eyed. He looked like a movie star. My mother, Sharon, was a former model. She was also blonde and blue-eyed. Then there was my brother, Austin, and my sister, Jessica. They were the golden children. Literally. They both had the blonde hair, the blue eyes, and the perfect bone structure. They looked exactly like Richard. They were his pride and joy. And then there was me. I had dark, curly brown hair. I had brown eyes. I had olive skin. I looked nothing like them. From the time I could walk, Richard called me the mistake. He didn't say it affectionately. He said it with venom. He was convinced that my mother had an affair with the pool boy or the gardener. He treated me like an intruder in his perfect Aryan household. Austin and Jessica got new cars for their 16th birthdays. I got a bus pass. They went to private prep schools. I went to the public school 3 towns over because Richard didn't want to waste tuition on a bastard. My mother never defended me. She was terrified of Richard. She liked the money and the lifestyle too much to rock the boat. Whenever Richard would scream at me at the dinner table, asking why I was so stupid or why I looked like a rat, she would just sip her wine and look out the window. The breaking point came on my 16th birthday. I came home from school to find my bags packed and thrown on the front lawn. It was raining. My clothes were soaking wet in the mud. Richard was standing on the porch, holding a glass of scotch. Austin and Jessica were standing behind him, smirking. They were 14 and 15 at the time, and they had learned well from their father. They loved seeing me suffer. "What's going on?" I asked, dropping my backpack. "You're done," Richard said. He took a sip of his drink. "I've tolerated your presence for 16 years, Caleb. But I'm done looking at you. You are a constant reminder of your mother's infidelity. I'm your son," I yelled. "Mom, tell him." I looked at the window. My mother was standing there, behind the curtain. She didn't come out. She didn't say a word. She chose her comfort over her child. "You are not my son," Richard spat. "Look at you. You look like garbage. You don't share a drop of my blood. I'm cutting you off. Get out of my sight. If you come back to this property, I'll have you arrested for trespassing." "Where am I supposed to go?" I cried. "I have no money. I have nowhere to sleep." "Not my problem," Richard said. He turned around and walked inside. Austin laughed and waved at me before closing the heavy oak door. That night, I slept in a park. It was the first night of the rest of my nightmare. For the next 10 years, I lived a life that would break most people. I dropped out of school because I had to work to eat. I washed dishes in the back of greasy diners. I worked construction under the table. I slept in shelters, in cars, and sometimes on the street. I learned how to fight. I learned how to steal food when I was starving. I learned that the world doesn't care about you. But I survived. I clawed my way up. By the time I was 26, I had gotten my GED. I started working on an oil rig in Texas. It was brutal, dangerous work, but it paid well. I saved every penny. I bought a small trailer. Then I bought a truck. I built a life for myself. A lonely life, but a free one. I hadn't spoken to my family in a decade. I assumed they were dead to me. Then, 3 months ago, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered it. "Caleb?" It was a woman's voice. It sounded shaky. "Who is this?" I asked. It's Mom." I froze. The sound of her voice made me want to punch a wall. "I don't have a mother," I said. "She died 10 years ago when she let her husband throw me in the gutter." "Please, Caleb, don't hang up," she begged. She was crying. "We need you. It's your father. He's dying." "Good," I said. "I hope it hurts." "He has acute myeloid leukemia," she said. "He needs a bone marrow transplant. The chemotherapy isn't working anymore. He has weeks left, maybe days." "Why are you calling me?" I asked. "Call his precious golden children, Austin and Jessica." Let them save him. We tested them, she sobbed. They aren't a match. Neither of them. And neither am I. You are his last hope. Please, Caleb. The doctors say a biological child is the best bet. Even if he treated you badly, he's still your father. He said I wasn't his father, I reminded her. He kicked me out because he said I wasn't his son. He was wrong. She cried. He was just angry. Please, just come get tested. We will pay you. We will give you anything you want. Just come to the hospital. I thought about hanging up. I should have hung up. But a dark thought entered my mind. Richard was dying. He was desperate. The man who treated me like a stray dog was now begging for my help. I wanted to see him. I wanted to see him weak. I wanted to see the fear in his eyes. I'll come, I said. But not for him. I'm coming to watch. I flew back to my hometown the next day. I walked into the hospital wearing my work boots and a flannel shirt. I looked rough. I looked like the blue-collar worker Richard despised. When I walked into the VIP hospital suite, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Richard was lying in the bed. He looked terrible. His skin was gray, his hair was gone, and he was hooked up to a dozen machines. But his eyes were still arrogant. Austin and Jessica were sitting on the couch. They were 24 and 25 now. They looked expensive. Designer clothes, perfect hair, watches that cost more than my truck. But they looked scared. They knew their ATM was about to expire. My mother stood up when I walked in. Caleb, she breathed. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. Don't touch me. I walked over to the bed. Richard looked up at me. He didn't smile. So, Richard rasped. The prodigal son returns. You look like a mechanic. I work on oil rigs, I said. I make my own money. Unlike your parasites over there. I pointed at Austin and Jessica. Watch your mouth, Austin snapped. You're only here because Mom begged you. I'm here because I want to see this, I said. I want to see the great Richard Sterling begging the bastard for help. Richard coughed. It was a wet, rattling sound. I'm not begging you for anything. I just need your marrow. It's a simple procedure. You give it, we give you a check, and you leave. We can finally settle this debt. There is no debt, I said. You owe me a childhood. But since you can't give me that, we are going to do things my way. What do you want? Richard asked. I want the truth, I said. I agreed to the test. But I told the doctors I want a full genetic panel done. For everyone. Me, you, Austin, and Jessica. Richard laughed. It was a weak, wheezing laugh. You want a paternity test? Still trying to prove you belong? Fine. Do it. It will just prove what I've known for 26 years. You aren't mine. And what if I am? I asked. You aren't, he said. Look at you. You're brown. We are gold. It's biology, stupid. Fine, I said. Nurse. A nurse came in and took blood samples from everyone. Austin and Jessica complained the whole time, saying it was a waste of time. My mother looked nervous. She was pacing back and forth, wringing her hands. The results took 48 hours. Those 2 days were strange. I stayed in a motel down the street. I didn't stay at the house. I wouldn't step foot in that house. When the call came that the results were in, I went back to the hospital. A doctor came into the room with a thick folder. His name was Dr. Eris. He looked uncomfortable. Well? Richard demanded. Is he a match? Can we get this over with? Dr. Eris cleared his throat. Mr. Sterling, the results are complex. We have the compatibility results for the transplant, but we also have the paternity results Caleb requested. Just tell me if he's a match, Richard barked. He is, Dr. Eris said. The room went silent. What? Richard whispered. Caleb is a perfect HLA match for you, Dr. Eris said. It's actually quite rare to have a match this perfect. Richard looked at me. He looked confused. That's lucky. A lucky coincidence. It's not a coincidence, Dr. Eris said. He opened the folder. Based on the DNA analysis, the probability of paternity for Caleb is 99.9999%. Richard's jaw dropped. That's impossible. He doesn't look like me. Genetics are complicated, Dr. Eris explained. Recessive genes skip generations. Caleb likely inherited traits from your ancestors that didn't manifest in you. But biologically, he is your son. Without a doubt. I smiled. I crossed my arms and leaned against the wall. Looks like you kicked out the wrong kid, Dad. But, Richard looked at Austin and Jessica. At least I have my real kids. My images. Dr. Eris shifted his feet. He looked at my mother. She was staring at the floor, crying silently. About that, Dr. Eris said. We ran the panel on Austin and Jessica as well, to see why they weren't matches. And, Austin asked, We just have mom's genes, right? You do have your mother's genes, Dr. Eris said. But Mr. Sterling is excluded as the biological father for both Austin and Jessica. The silence that followed was heavier than death. Richard tried to sit up, but he was too weak. He fell back against the pillows, his face turning purple. What did you say? Austin and Jessica are half-siblings to Caleb, Dr. Eris said. They share a mother, but not a father. Richard turned his head slowly to look at Sharon. Sharon? What is this? My mother burst into tears. I'm sorry, Richard. I'm so sorry. Who? Richard wheezed. Who is it? It was Gary, she sobbed. Gary. I remembered Gary. Gary was Richard's old business partner. The tall, blonde, blue-eyed guy who used to come over for dinner all the time. The guy who Richard loved like a brother. Gary? Richard screamed. My partner? You slept with Gary? You were always working. She cried. And Gary, he looked like you. I thought if the babies looked like you, you would never know. Caleb came out looking like your father, and you hated him. I was scared. So when I got pregnant with Austin and Jessica, and they came out blonde, I was relieved. I let you believe they were yours so you would love them. It all clicked. The irony was so delicious I could taste it. Richard Sterling, the man obsessed with his image, had kicked out his only biological son because I had his father's dark features. And he had raised, spoiled, and worshipped 2 children that belonged to another man, simply because they fit his aesthetic. He had spent millions on Austin and Jessica. He had given them his name. He had given them his love. And they were nothing to him. Richard looked at Austin and Jessica. They looked horrified. They weren't horrified that their mom cheated. They were horrified because they realized their claim to the family fortune just evaporated. Get out, Richard whispered. Dad, wait. Austin started. I am not your dad. Richard roared. His monitor started beeping rapidly. Get out. All of you. Sharon, take your bastards and get out of my room. They left. My mother was sobbing, dragging a stunned Austin and Jessica out of the room. Now, it was just me and Richard. And the doctor. Richard was panting. He looked at me. His eyes were full of tears. For the first time in my life, he looked at me and saw me. Caleb, he said. His voice was trembling. My son. I didn't move. I'm so sorry, he said. I didn't know. I was a fool. A blind fool. Yes, you were, I said. But we can fix this, Richard said, reaching a hand out to me. You're the match. You can save me. Dr. Eris said you're a perfect match. We can do the transplant. I'll change the will. I'll give you everything. The house, the money, the firm. It's all yours. Just save me. I looked at his hand. It was shaking. I thought about the night in the rain when I was 16. I thought about eating out of dumpsters. I thought about the cold nights on the oil rig. I thought about the word mistake. I looked at Dr. Eris. Doctor, is a bone marrow transplant a voluntary procedure? Yes, Dr. Eris said. The donor must consent. I looked back at Richard. I decline, I said. Richard's eyes went wide. What? No. Caleb, please. I'm your father. You made it very clear 10 years ago that you weren't my father, I said. You said I wasn't your son. You cut me off. You threw me away. I was wrong. He begged. I'm dying, Caleb. If you walk out that door, I die? I know, I said. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I'll give you $50 million. He screamed. I don't want your money, I said. I have my own. And I have my dignity. Something you never had. I turned around and walked toward the door. Caleb, Caleb, he screamed. It was a guttural sound of pure despair. Don't do this. I'm your dad. I stopped at the door. I turned back one last time. No, Richard, I said. You're just a stranger who looks nothing like me. I walked out. I heard him screaming my name down the hallway until the elevator doors closed. Richard died 2 weeks later. The aftermath was chaotic. Without a living heir, he claimed, since he never updated his will to include me, and he died before he could disinherit the others legally. But the DNA test created a legal war. The estate went into probate hell. My mother tried to fight for the money, but the revelation of the affair and the paternity fraud triggered clauses in their prenup. She got nothing. She lives in a small condo now. Austin and Jessica? It turns out Gary, their real dad, is a broke alcoholic living in Florida. They have no trust fund. They have no inheritance. They have to work for a living now. Last I heard, Austin is selling used cars and Jessica is trying to be an influencer, failing miserably. As for me, I went back to the oil rig. I worked for another year, just to prove to myself that I didn't need him. Then, I used my savings to start my own construction company. It's doing well. I bought a house. It's not a mansion. It's a nice log cabin on a lake. I kept one thing from that trip: the DNA results. I frame them. Sometimes, when I have a bad day, I look at that paper. I look at the 99.9% probability next to my name. And I smile. My dad spent his whole life trying to curate the perfect family photo. In the end, he died alone, killed by his own vanity. And the ugly duckling he kicked